Wait. Yeah, baby.
Perfect.
So
Perfect. How you doing today, buddy?
good. I'm good.
We had an interesting weekend.
I don't even remember it.
Well, we had Just the Maker and the Colorado kid out here in Tucson.
That was fun. As cool as they are,
Yes.
and hopefully we can maybe talk them into coming on the podcast.
They've already agreed to it, so they better hold us up
awesome.
on that. Yeah.
And as awesome as they are, and I don't want to discount that they're cool, and they brought a ton of people out to the SDMB workday.
Yep.
So if for people who are listening that don't live in Tucson, these two YouTube celebrities, cycling celebrities,
Instagram, YouTube.
Instagram influencers, whatever you want to call, came to Tucson, and then we kind of put it out there that they're coming, and we got a ton of volunteers showing up at a trail day because of them. I think.
Yeah, they came out to a trail day and
they
shot some content, and that was super cool. We had lunch with them.
Yep.
That was super cool.
But you know what I got from that?
What'd you get from that?
I still just really enjoy going and looking at that trail and thinking I helped that trail.
Right. I was telling that to people, like there were some folks out there that was their first dig day or their first trail work day. And I was like, every time you ride this trail, you're going to look at that section and be like,
you're going to be like, I trimmed that bush, or, I moved that cactus out of the way, or I had cholla in me at this spot. So,
I was like so focused on getting stumps out because I keep hitting stumps on my bike that my hands, it's a Tuesday. We did that Saturday. My hands are still sore.
Oh, really?
From swinging the McLeod and the pick and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was fun. There was another guy, Wade, I met. So he's just moved to Tucson and he's stoked. And so hopefully we're going to go ride and show him some Tucson trails. So, and it was fun. We saw a lot.
What's Wade's last name?
Holland.
And he is also an influencer.
Yes. Yeah. I've been watching some of his videos. I got to say, I didn't know much about him, but his videos are hilarious.
Super cool.
So, yeah.
He's like the king of Stoke or something. I can't remember what his
outfits crack me up.
Yeah, and he showed up just on brand. Like he was totally wearing fluorescent colors.
Oh yeah. He had the party shirt on. So yeah, but hopefully he'll come hang out and we'll go riding or something. And then, then we went to lunch, and then Sunday, I had my daughter's team party.
Right on.
For her NICA team.
Yep.
That was really fun. And then we got to go ride.
Yep.
So
that was cool. Got to see Regan and Lacey, my wife, offered to give Jilly some coaching if she's interested in it. So that'll be cool if she takes her up on that.
A good weekend, that's for sure. There was a lot of volleyball and other kid family stuff going on this weekend too. That's why I couldn't remember. When you brought it up, I genuinely can't remember.
And then you had the bike swap.
Then the bike swap too, yeah. So for people that don't
Cyclovia?
and Cyclovia, yeah.
Jesus.
So, yeah, that was a packed weekend. So I hope your town had as many bike things going on as ours, because it was pretty amazing. So, and the weather was amazing. So
I spent a lot of time editing that Norco podcast.
Yes. Yeah. I just listened to that today, and I really enjoyed it,
Cool.
So yeah, I can't wait to hear people tell us how
they like
felt.
the technology stuff, all the technical stuff.
I feel like it was too over anyone's head.
I don't know. It was a little over my head.
Yeah. I like it too, because we did get into having them kind of explain some of these terms that I think are out there. And I think a lot of people hear these terms and they kind of just don't really digest them, and they just need a little bit more info. And
should I test you? Do you remember?
Yeah, go for it.
What's anti-squat?
Anti-squat is in the drivetrain sense. So it keeps it from the
pedal bob
and the bike from basically when you pedal, it doesn't yank the drivetrain forward. So
anti-squat's pedal bob. What's anti-rise?
That's your braking.
Brake jack.
Yep, brake jack. So you don't, when you put the brakes on, it doesn't lift the back end and flip you over the bars.
And we were talking in that video about floating disc brakes.
Yes, that's coming.
And Nico Mullally just put a video out last night.
Yep, yeah. So I've seen SRAM has a patent that they are putting out there. I don't know if it got, so you're going to start seeing those. In fact, when those guys said, I think you're going to start seeing, I'm like, yeah, I already saw the patents. It's already going to start coming. It's, they're really working lately from what I've seen, Faction.
Yeah.
Is also
Faction Bike Studio.
Yeah. So Faction did that floating disc brake for, Nico.
Yep.
And, I think you're going to start seeing that a lot to kind of allow for some of these more fluid suspension designs that have big drawbacks, like, for instance, they don't have a good anti-squat. I'm still wrapping my head.
Anti-rise. Anti-squat would be pedal bob.
No, so what I was getting to is that there's some suspension designs that kind of move the rear axle away.
Yep.
They cause a lot of anti-squat issues because as you pedal, it kind of breaks it forward. So then you're seeing the idlers come out and fix that, the high pivot idlers. And then you're also having these smooth suspension designs that aren't allowing for the brake to be isolated And so if they put a floating disc brake on there, it gets rid of that. And so it takes the brake away. The other interesting thing that I found out this weekend, I was looking into, basically I was listening to a podcast about chain feedback. So like a big thing on the World Cup is these O-chains.
That's funny. I went down the O-chain rabbit hole this morning.
You?
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's a couple companies. There's one that's coming out with mass dampers. Tuned mass dampers for bikes.
Okay.
And
what's a mass damper?
So it's basically, God, man, this is going to be way over my head as far as technical, but it's a movable weight. It kind of like a weight kind of suspended so that it can help resonate at the same frequency that the suspension is. And it helps control
the feedback through the bike.
Yeah. And it's really crazy, but they've been using it on the World Cup scene for a while now. And now they're starting to get to where they're putting it in the front and the middle and the back of the bike. A lot of the World Cup bikes are putting added weight. So they're actually building in designs where you can add weights to the bike at certain places.
This is hilarious.
Were you going down the same?
Yeah.
So maybe our Googles are linked or something.
That's okay.
But one of the guys from, it's not Huck Norris, Rimpact is one of the companies that are doing the mass dampers, and they were talking about a new type of chain dampener, basically.
Yeah.
That's not an O-chain, and basically similar to, there's a STFU. Have you seen that?
Shut the front door.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut the front up.
So the big thing is to get rid of that chain influence on the bike.
Yeah.
So you want to know something that's crazy?
What's crazy?
Turner's bike.
Yeah.
Turner's bike, he's got a pivot switchblade.
Yeah.
Of course, 9-year-old who's spoiled.
With a pivot switchblade.
And I had to put air shocks on his because I couldn't get coils light enough for him. I barely got them light enough for Jilly. So his suspension is so soft every time I pick it up in the garage to load the bike, I can just barely push it and it pushes down. And something that I noticed that I don't see being addressed is that when I push his back end, there is a noticeable braking force. And can you guess what it is?
The chain?
It's the chain. It's the clutch. So as I push down on the back end and it yanks the clutch forward, it has to break it loose. And because his suspension is so soft,
right,
for such a light rider, that you notice it. Whereas on, a bigger bike for a 200-pound rider, you're not going to notice it as much. But it was kind of crazy to me to think that nobody's kind of addressed that.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I guess the O-chain would probably address that as well.
Yeah, I guess, because it would let it tug back a little bit. But every time he cycles that suspension, that clutch is going to get activated.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And now he's got old 11-speed Shimano, or SRAM. So who knows?
That stuff's garbage. So.
Yeah, well, don't start. To be fair, I have no idea what condition it's in, because usually the kids' bikes get like my old throwaway stuff because they,
It's a good thing they don't listen to this podcast.
Right, yeah. Oh, they know. They're like, this is Dad's old stuff. But, they've got Renthal bars. They've got like WT. Oh, Turner's got carbon fiber rims with DT Swiss hubs.
Nice.
Like, the kid is spoiled.
Yeah, totally. So, you get him on a regular 9-year-old bike. He's gonna be like, what the hell? This thing costs less than $10,000.
He's stoked when he gets 3 inches of air. So
he does. He does. It's super cool.
Yeah. But so we were doing bike shop stuff again.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about.
So you guys have responded well to the bike shop episodes, the bike shop secret episodes. So I've got another list of, stupid questions that a home mechanic has, and I showed them to Dane briefly, but it's mostly going to be off the cuff and just see what he comes up with.
Shoot from the hip.
Shoot from the hips. Okay. So, let's see. I replaced I checked the chain on Lacey's, cross country bike.
Okay.
It's a Scott scale.
Okay.
And the chain was worn out.
Okay.
So it kind of didn't pass the test. So I was like, all right, I got to replace the chain. And I was taking a look at the cassette and it looked okay. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I just heard you in the back of my head, like, if you replace the chain, you should replace the cassette. So I went and bought a new cassette.
Okay.
And a chain. And while I was there, I got a new derailleur too.
Okay. What about the front chain ring?
Front chain ring was oval from Absolute Black and looked like it was in really good shape.
Okay.
Like you couldn't even see anywhere on the front chain ring.
It's black, I'm guessing. So
it is.
Yeah, and so you didn't see the little white worn off aluminum.
I didn't see anything that would suggest, hey, I need to do this. And I kind of did like a ghetto fit check or whatever, and everything seemed fine.
Okay. So what's the question?
So the question is, do I have to do our listeners, do we have to replace the cassette when we replace the chain?
So, man, this is different time periods in my life. I've had different answers.
What's your answer right now? And then what did it used to be?
I'll give you all three because there's three different time frames. Okay. So back in the day, like around when we
1920.
Back when, before there was light, before we had power. But no, Campy was a drivetrain that, their cassettes were remarkably expensive compared to everybody else. Campagnola. This is on the roadside. And because of that, everybody developed kind of a habit of measuring your chain and replacing it more often so that it doesn't stretch. So these are terms that I'm going to have to explain. A lot of people know these, but I'm going to kind of explain what they actually mean.
Please do.
Not everybody does.
Yep.
So when the chain stretches, what the mechanic will tell you is, the chain is stretched. You need a new chain. Well, if you put a new chain, so back then the cassette was so expensive, mechanics would tell you to change your chain. They would just push, change your chain. You need to change your chain
all the time, even if the chain wasn't like technically worn out.
Yeah, just a little bit. In fact, we had gauges that kind of told us a little bit versus a lot stretched.
Yep.
And so the idea was if you change your chain more often, you will have less stretch, and that will cause the cassette to last longer. And so you wouldn't have that big expense.
Yep.
Okay. So then fast forward to 9-speed, 10-speed Shimano era, when they just dominated.
Yeah.
Cassettes dropped down to like $50 to $80, and the chains were like $30. And all of a sudden, changing your chain 3 times to save an $80 cassette was more expensive.
Right.
And so as a racer, I developed an idea that just wear them together, just wear them into the ground together, and then replace them both together.
Right.
So now fast forward again to the 2020s, or 17s or whenever Eagle started coming out and the cassettes started to jump in price again. And now we're back at that kind of, you need to try and keep that chain life and minimize how much it stretches because you don't want to have to buy a $300 cassette on the regular.
So you're recommending today to, now in my particular use case or my particular example, it was too late. I'd already let the chain go past its life.
So I got questions for you. So, because I got to explain chain stretch and I got to give you the spiel that I give everybody in the shop.
Go for it.
Because this is like a touch point or a peeve of mine,
I thought it might be.
Yeah. So, how did you check your chain? Like what method did you use to check your chain?
So I have 2 different tools.
Okay.
I have the old, and I don't know how to explain it, but they're both park tools. I have the old tool that's little and has 2 kind of pokey. Yep. That one right there.
Okay.
What is that tool?
Here, this is a CC-2 chain checker by Park Tool.
But someone told me that that tool, I think that someone was Dane Higgins, told me that tool was not as accurate as the big long one that's like a ruler with 3 things in it.
Yeah.
So I did both. That tool said the chain was still good. Mm-hmm. The other one said the chain was worn out and significantly worn out.
And that one you capture 2 of those tongs.
2, it's got 2 that are close together and one that's down at the end.
And then you dip it, and if it dips all the way in,
and it dipped all the way in, didn't even come close to touching.
Yeah, and so that's called a go no go gauge.
Yep.
So, and sometimes they'll have a little step on them.
Yep.
And the step will tell you like it's almost gone.
Yeah, you got 25% left or
exactly.
something. Yep.
My favorite is the blue one, the CC-2.
The little one.
Yeah. The problem with this one is there's numbers on it that mean absolutely nothing. So like if for people listening, this is the Park Tool that's like a little blue one with 2 little pins that you put in the chain, and then it's got a sliding gauge that as you move it, the pins get a little farther apart.
Yep.
And when they push the chain farther apart, they tell you how far it's worn. So the reason that this one is not accurate is because different chains have different inner diameters, and also it doesn't account for the rollers. Actually, it pushes them apart, and it doesn't give you the same reading because technically you got to have some under tension, like the first one and the last one kind of need to be at different tension. I'm explaining this wrong, but when you get the 3-prong one that looks like a ruler, what that does is it loads that middle prong. It loads the roller different than this one does.
Gotcha.
And so it's a little different, and it's supposed to be a little more accurate.
Okay.
The problem is it's a go, no go. So you have no idea where you're at in between. And
that one actually gives you
this one does.
It tells you you're like 50%.
Yeah, but the numbers lie. Cause if you put this one onto a new chain, the 0 will not actually be displayed. In fact, a lot of times it'll be at 25 or even 35% worn, depending on the brand of the chain.
Interesting.
And so the reason I like this one is because I do it so often that I've developed a feel for what a new chain is going to read, and what a semi-worn and what a worn out chain. And this one, when you get off the scale, we call it off the scale, we know that you're past just a chain. But if I see it at the like 70%, or I might say
chain's good, but keep the cassette.
Yes, exactly.
Swap the chain, but keep the cassette.
It gives you like a sliding gauge of how much wear you've got. So, okay. So the chain stretch, is a lot of people hear that term from a bike shop guy and they're like, oh, my chain stretch. Your chain has not stretched. The metal does not stretch. That's not what's happening. So what's happening is there's wear that's happening that causes the rollers to wear on the outside and on the inside. And so they now migrate back and forth, and they can actually migrate enough to where they start cutting the valleys between the teeth on the cassette to a different width. And so what happens is they're kind of doing this very slowly, like the Grand Canyon, over time, and as they wear that chain, that cassette tooth down and kind of make it narrower, and make that valley bigger, because they now have more slop because the inside of that roller has worn, and even the pin has even worn too. Yeah. All of these tolerances kind of stack up. And so you can actually take a chain because those pins are wearing too, and the inside roller on the inside plates will actually get ovalized, and you can put it on the table next to a new one and it'll be longer. So that's why it's called chain stretch, because it is actually longer. It could be. Right.
That was my next question. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, you're saying it doesn't stretch, but I checked them and the old one was longer.
The metal's not stretching. It's not like you're putting it on a press and like yanking it and deforming the metal as far as like stretching. What it's happening is you're wearing the inside tolerances to ovals and bigger IDs, inner diameters, which allow each link to have a little bit of play, like maybe a 1/2 millimeter or whatever it is.
Tiny bit.
And then over, 126 links.
That adds up.
That adds up to a much longer chain.
You know what Claude says?
What is Claude?
Exactly what you said.
No way.
It did. It says what's really happening is wear between the internal components of the chain.
Yes.
When a bicycle chain stretches, they're not actually stretching in the way fabric or rubber might elongate. It's almost like you could have been Claude.
No way. So I like it when I know my shit.
You pretty much always know your shit, dude.
This though is a hot button for me, because what is the most common thing that we see that happens to customers with chains is they go into a bike shop, whether the bike shop employee or the customer brings it up, somebody brings up putting a new chain on because that's kind of what they're used to hearing. Do a tune-up and I'll do a new chain. Nobody has this conversation that you and I are having. And then they now put a chain that has none of that slop. And those pins are at a very precise distance from each other.
They don't match up with the cassette.
And the cassette has now got these big, huge valleys. And now the rollers don't fit into those valleys correctly because they're not worn together. They're not a married couple. That's what I call it. Like, it's like that chain and that cassette got married. And so now when that happens, you basically, there's not as many of those teeth are engaged with the rollers, and you can pop them over when you put loads on it. So basically, imagine you're on your, 22 tooth. I'm making that up, but in your cassette, let's say you're on your 20 tooth cog and it's really worn, but your chain's new. And the wrap of the chain is usually only about a little over half.
Yep.
So you're not getting 20. Let's say you're getting maybe 10 or 11 cogs. And maybe only 5 of those are actually engaging deep into the valleys. and the rest aren't. And now you put a load down, you go to stand to, yeah, and it pops like crazy. You get that pop, and if you're standing and sprinting, it can flip you over the bars. Like it can be actually dangerous. And so like our teams, we would always replace, those, not every race, but it was always safer to have a new chain and cassette than to risk that, because if you're sprinting at 200 watts or whatever those guys, 500 watts or whatever those guys are putting out, it can flip you over the bars.
So just like marriages, every couple of years, you probably need a new one. You need to you need to trade in, you need to, and if you don't want to die together, you need to replace the female.
Yeah. My marriage analogy gets a little weird because I always tell people, I go, if you split them up, they're not happy, but who knows, maybe they are. But, and, when you split them up and add a new one, that's younger, nobody's happy, and maybe they are. I don't know. Depends on if you're in LA or not. But
oh Jesus!
So,
all right, let's stick with chains. Okay, I got a couple more chain questions.
Okay. So wait, I have to finish your question.
Sorry.
So here's the hard part, and why history has taught me so much. As the cassette price gets higher, I am more careful about how much time I keep that chain on the cassette, because if I let that get to a point where I can't just put a chain on, I have to buy a cassette.
And then you're looking at a $400 or $500 could be. Well, $300 or $400.
Yeah. If you're running, a $75 SLX or Dior cassette, you can wear that stuff together. I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's not a big cost.
Yeah.
But man, some of this stuff is $400 to $500 for a cassette. And if it is so much cheaper, even to put an $80 chain on that, two or three times is still cheaper than a new cassette.
Yeah.
And so, there are companies, this is one thing that the new generation of chains is starting to actually address. And so it got really bad with 10 and 11 speed, because they kept getting thinner and thinner and thinner to fit more cogs on the rear, but they weren't really addressing the wear issues. And so now they would wear faster and faster and faster. Now that the stuff's expensive, one of the big companies that makes the big gears that we can't talk about because you get all triggered. So that company has put a big effort into durability. And so here's the crazy thing about those. We're seeing durability issues in a different way. So on a SRAM system, the Eagle systems, we didn't see as much chain stretch, but we would still have shifting issues. And what we were finding out is that the chain wasn't necessarily getting too long. The durability was still pretty good on most of the Eagle stuff, but what it was doing was getting really side to side flexible. And so then what happens is when the derailleur is shoving that chain over, there's so much play side to side that it doesn't push it enough to grab the next cog.
Got it.
And you would get shifting issues. And so now Abbey Tools actually has a chain checker that
for side to side play.
Yeah, we call it deflection. And so now you can actually start to look at deflection. So that's a whole nother thing.
I love this shit, dude. One question and we're 23 minutes in.
It's a big topic, because this is the thing that
it's a consumable item. It's expensive. You want to make sure you're taking care of it, right?
I see a lot of fails at the professional bike shop level where this conversation doesn't happen with the customer, and then their bike comes back with a fresh new chain on it and an old cassette, and they go out in the first ride, it's popping and skipping, and that customer lose all faith in that shop. And the shop, I mean, if they don't take the time to just make that little time to have that conversation with the customer and let them know, because sometimes customers fight us. Hey, you may need a chain and cassette. Oh no, I don't. Just do the chain. Okay, we actually make notes in our shop. Hey, customer was warned or
advised.
Informed, and then refused new cassette, and then that way, if he comes back, but just by having the conversation with him and saying, hey man, this could happen, the customer is much more likely to go, shit, those guys were right, and come back knowing that he's going to get help, and that we didn't screw up. And so that's a simple conversation that I urge all bike shops to have with their customers.
Right on. So summarize all that. If the chain still got some life in it, the more life it has, the better chance you have that you don't have to change the cassette.
Yeah.
Is there any visual things you can see on the cassette? It's hard to tell. Right?
No, I even asked. So there was a whole year that I spent like diving into this and dealing with, no, I'm not kidding.
Of course you did.
Like going to manufacturers and trying to figure this stuff out. There was a tool called the roll-off cassette checker, which is a chain, and it's basically meant to help you check that. And some people still use it. But the idea is to try and figure out how to check if the cassette's good. And there hasn't been a real good, I have not seen one, because these cassettes a long time ago in the late 90s became computer designed shift ramps. And so when you look at a brand new cassette, I've had people bring them back and go, this is worn out. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Right. Because
it's got all these bevels, and some of the teeth are
they look like
shapes.
Sharks.
Yes.
And you're
and
like, wait a minute, shark. It used to be shark tooth was bad on a cassette.
Yeah, they're not consistent because that's been designed to shift and lift the chains better. And so because of that, it's very hard to tell the wear. Sometimes if they're really bad, you can tell because you can look at that valley is so wide.
Yeah.
But if it's in between, it's really hard to tell. So if you buy a new bike, or I'm sorry, if you buy a used bike and the guy's like, oh, I put a new chain on it, you may just have to try and figure it out by your ride, and so don't go race it.
See how it's shifting.
Yeah, don't go race it right away, but that's the number one thing. People put new chains on all the time and they don't change the cassettes. So
okay, next topic, still related to chains.
Okay.
Lacey, I put a new tool kit that mounts to her bike. It's actually made by Crank Brothers.
Okay.
It's a combination water bottle holder. It's got a bunch of cool tools in it and everything on the side. It's kind of all integrated, and then you put a water bottle. So it's really cool. But it's got a spot to put a quick link.
Yes.
And I had run out of spare quick links, so I opened a new chain.
Yep.
I took the quick link out. I put it in Lacey's bike.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, I'm like, shit, I got to use this chain.
Yeah.
So can I reuse the quick link?
Oh, man.
Can you reuse quick links or not?
Okay.
I understand that it's one-time use.
We're not going to go into the 20-minute answer. Used to be you could because they had a lot bigger and thicker material.
Right.
The new ones are so thin and so precise that most manufacturers will say that they're not reusable. From a practical standpoint, when I'm dealing with my own bikes, not customers' bikes, because with customers, we want them to be safe. But with my kids, I don't care. Well,
they weigh so little that they're not going to,
Well, and so because of my knowledge, I will make a judgment call. And if I feel a positive engagement and I feel that quick link is making a positive engagement, I will reuse it. So the manufacturers are deathly afraid of you reusing it and it popping loose while you're riding. And they don't want that to happen. And they're not that expensive. And their philosophy is just get a new one. It'll be safer. It'll be stronger. You'll have less problems. If that thing comes open while you're riding, it could cause,
all kinds of problems.
All kinds of problems.
Yep.
So the corporate answer is get a new one.
Yep.
The bike shop answer is we're going to put a new one on your bike. The Dane at home, using his head is I'm going to feel for that positive engagement. If that thing goes together and it feels super loose, if you can take it apart without a tool,
that's a problem.
Do not use that thing. But if you're feeling like a good click into place, or if you have to hit that crank to get it to pop that thing into place, then you're probably okay. I'll save a lot of my old quick links and use them as my spares.
Okay.
Because I know that they still got one or two uses in them.
Just to get you home.
Yeah, it'll get me home. Yeah. And I'm not going to use it for my main. It'll be an emergency one. So,
yeah. Okay.
Plus it's easier to get on the trail. It's a little bit easier to put together. Some of the new ones are a nightmare to try and get them all. They're so tight.
It's hard to get them. Yeah. And there's a couple cool, I'll spare our listeners all of the instructions that I've seen online, but there's a number of YouTube videos out there about how to get a quick link to engage and disengage on the trail.
Yeah.
Using the bike, using the cranks, there's all different, using shoelaces.
Yeah, I've
seen a bunch of different methods.
I swear to God, were you on the couch next to me?
Yeah, I think I was in my underwear.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
But yeah, I will say that having a set, we sell those wolf tooth, they're quick link pliers.
Yeah.
And they've got a tire lever built in and they'll hold your quick links.
Okay.
It's a cool little piece. It's kind of cool. I mean, if you're into tools, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It pulls them apart, puts them back together, holds the quick links, tire lever. It's cool. It's not, heavy. So I like that one. So that tends to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't carry anything with me. I do use at home in my home mechanic shop. I do have like the Park ones, and I was so stoked when they redesigned them to be able to go open and close.
Yeah,
because it used to just be closed.
How mad were people when they just had the closed one or the open one? You know, and they're like, God damn it! You know, I just ground mine down and made that tool. So
of course you did. Did you let them know?
No, that was before I was into Instagram, so I wasn't tagging them on Instagram about stuff. So, but
I think by the time I release this one, the folks will have heard the Park episode already. Because in that episode, was it in the episode or after the episode where you gave them a design? I think it was after.
I told them about the cube,
the cube
suspension.
Yeah, I think it was after the episode though. Right?
Oh, really?
I can't remember. Maybe it was during. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dane's a honorary, I guess, engineer for Park tools.
If you check out is it my Instagram or was it? Yeah, I think it was on my Instagram because that is suspensions Instagram. You'll see me convert the Park tool.
That's cool. Yeah. All right, one more chain question.
Okay.
I have run into this a few times, and I just ran into it recently. I got 2 links. Like, your links should move kind of freely.
Yep.
And I got like some sticky links.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you do about sticky links?
So most of the time, back in the olden day, you used to push and pull the pins, or you would use a pin to connect the chain, and you could get a sticky link because that pin either wasn't in correctly or it was over to one side or too much, you know. So if you've got an 8-speed or a 9-speed bike, even some 10 speeds, you may have that issue. But at the 11 and 12, they pretty much got into quick links, and so that's not an issue. Most of the time we see that because you've hit a rock with it and it smashed the links, the two links. And
this was at the quick link.
At the quick link.
At a sticky link.
Like the quick link was sticky?
Yeah.
It sounds like you put it together wrong, or you had the wrong one.
Yeah, it was a 12-speed SRAM chain and a 12-speed SRAM quick link.
Make sure there's no dirt in there.
I did. So I'll tell you what I did.
Okay.
And I got it to work.
Yeah.
But you can tell me how bad I screwed it up.
I rock it back and forth.
I rocked it back and forth. That helped a little.
Yeah.
Then I took a little tiny flathead screwdriver, put it in there, and just ever so carefully stretched it a little bit, and then got it to start moving.
Yeah, that's probably fine too. It's weird that it would do that.
It was the first time I've ever seen it.
Yeah. So, from a technical standpoint, it shouldn't do that, but real life stuff like that happens. Yeah. Right? So, and who knows, if one of those quick link studs is just a hair shorter than the other or something like that. But what we see a lot in sticky links is the 2 links that are overlapped get smashed on a rock on your chain ring,
and then they get sticky. Press them together.
Yep, yeah, and then you'll hear them click.
That's annoying
as they go around. Yeah, and if they're really bad, they can jam your derailleur and stuff. And so that is very difficult to fix. In fact, when we were doing neutral support at a race in Tucson here called the Tucson Tenor. We had a customer, not a customer, he was just a racer, come up, and he had done that. And we ended up getting him a new chain because we couldn't get it to not.
Did you change the cassette?
No. And in fact, he was really bummed because the bike was new. So we were pretty confident that he wasn't going to have a problem. But it's funny because he came back, and I think he had he broke his pedal, and then he also had no sealant in his tires. And I saw
a couple different times.
Yeah,
was he this
was the same race.
This guy did not maintain his bike at all.
I saw him at the bike swap, and he's like, "Yeah, I just sat in a chair and watched the rest of the race." He's like, "I was done." So,
you should have him come down.
I thought it was hilarious. So, and he goes, "Hey, I'm doing the whiskey race in Arizona in Prescott." For those of you who don't know, there's a certain way that you say this name,
Prescott,
but it's not spelled that way.
It's spelled like Prescott.
Yep. So, but anyway, this big race, he's going to that, and I said, "Come by and we'll check your bike out and make sure it's good." So,
yeah, it's going to be a little tough to get neutral support out in the whiskey.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
because it's not a loop; laps. It's a 50 mile or 25 mile, depending on what you're doing, roughly. All right. Another recent thing that I experienced on the trail was a broken spoke.
Oh, gosh.
And what I did was wrapped that broken spoke around another spoke.
Yep.
And rode home.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much all you can do. Now, there used to be, and I think you can still get them, these Kevlar replacements, which were kind of cool. They were just kind of a piece of Kevlar, and you could
Like glue it together almost?
Not glue. It's like a Kevlar strand, and then you could tie it. So,
I got you. You could, if you had enough, you could tie it to both.
Yeah,
and maintain some tension.
It really depended on where it broke. So a lot of spokes will break, in most cases, at two places. They'll break where
the nipple.
Where the threads end. Because that's traumatic. Being threaded is traumatic to that steel, and that's a weak point, and it's a stress riser.
This is another aspect of nipple management right now.
Exactly. Yes. If I know a lot about nipples, but nipples don't break spokes. It's the spoke
that actually breaks itself.
Yeah. And then the bend, the J bend, is the other one. So again, when they turn that metal, it heats up, realigns.
J bend is where it fits into the hub.
Yeah, and some of them are straight pull for that reason. So
because you don't have the weak part in the metal.
Yeah, and then the other thing, obviously, is a rock strike or something happening to the spoke.
Then it could happen anywhere.
Yep, yeah, it can happen in the middle. So these little Kevlar ones were really cool because you could put them on. So, I think they're still out there. And if you're a bike packer or if you're somebody who does these long epic rides, those would be something to definitely invest in. But for most of us that are on like an hour to 2 hour ride, you could ride out on that. Just be easy on it because aluminum, once one spoke's missing, that support on that rim is a little bit softer and you can develop a flat spot. So,
interesting. All right, so I did okay. Okay on the twisting the spoke around another spoke, and it got me home.
Dude, that way it's not flopping around or
stabbing you.
You're not sitting there in trying to pull the cassette off to try and pull the spoke out or anything like that.
Oh my god! So I can't imagine trying to pull a cassette off on the trail.
Sometimes they fall off. Sometimes
if they're not tight, I've had that happen.
Yeah, if you got a DT Swiss with no O-ring. So.
I can't tell you how many times Lacey's come back and she's like, my bike's shifting like shit. And I go and I like wiggle her cassette. I'm like, your cassette's loose again.
Yeah. Was the cassette loose or was her axle loose?
Cassette.
What hub?
Good question. This was on her. It was the stock Scott scale wheels that came. I think they were Synchros rims, and I don't know if the hub. I think it was Synchros labeled, but I don't know who actually manufactured the hub.
Yeah, it's weird to have cassettes come loose on the regular. That's weird. So
yeah, she rides a lot though.
I know, but that lock ring goes at a certain torque.
Yeah.
So I feel like you need to give it a little oomph.
A little oomph.
Yeah. So.
I think it's like around 40 PSI or 40 Newton meters is the torque setting for.
Probably. It's probably written on it. I just have a certain amount of degrees after engagement that I do.
It is, I got to tell you, it is fucking hilarious watching, like, if you could compare and contrast how I work on bikes and how you work on bikes, like, you set up Lacey's fork on her switchblade a couple days ago. Yeah. And you, like, push it, twist, just do it real quick. And you're like, needs a little more air. And you're done. That would have been like a 2 hour process for me. Measuring, looking shit up. And you're like, that doesn't feel quite right. Let's do this.
We were talking about Consumer Direct on one of our podcasts.
You don't get that.
And that is one of the things that, truthfully, I forget that we do, So I worked on my my dryer. One day.
And you were like looking shit up and it took you a long time?
It was like 2 days. My entire weekend to try and fix this stupid thing because I didn't want to spend the $75 for the
assessment.
House call or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, I could have been riding both days.
Yeah.
Should have had a guy come out.
Should have spent the $75.
He would have done it in half an hour and I wouldn't have had 2 days missing out of my life, and that's the problem, though, as I did the same thing. I was like looking up stuff, trying to figure it out, 2 different runs to the parts store because I got the wrong part, They weren't open on Sunday, so then I had to still go back Monday. So it was really 3 days, But yeah, it's funny how we are. I mean, I like to fix stuff, so there's nothing wrong with.
And it feels manly to say like my fridge broke and I fixed it.
Yeah, it totally does. But at some point, like I don't change the oil in my car because I could. But I don't want to crawl under there, get the bloody knuckles, get all dirty, have to deal with everything. I'd rather drop it off.
Which is funny looking at you right now, all dirty, covered in oil.
Yeah. But I'll drop my car off. I'll take the bike off. I'll go for a ride for an hour, and then I'll come back. It'll be done. I'll have a ride, and it cost me like $30, Yeah. And there's a certain point where you get to where your time. I used to spend an entire day cleaning my own car because I had all this time and no money. Now I'm angry if I have to spend 10 minutes at the car wash, so.
All right. Next question. I've had some lessons from some folks that are more gravity oriented.
Okay.
To help me improve my gravity skills. And shout out to Lacey, who, when I talked to her about coaching Jilly, I was like, listen, woman, you have to, I didn't actually say woman. I probably did, but she knew it was with good intent. Yeah. But I'm like, you are so good at this and I'm not. You have got to coach me as well and I can handle it. Yeah. Like you can come out and tell me what I'm doing wrong and I'll listen. Yeah. And I won't get mad at you and I'll try to, I need to learn from you. She knows this stuff. Teach me how to do it. Yeah. So I'm stoked. So shout out to Lacey for agreeing to, coach me.
We'll see how that goes.
We'll see in 3 months if we're still married, right? I have no doubt we've been through much harder things than coaching on mountain biking. And I am actually very humble about that. But the homegrown folks, Tara over there, which we've had Tara on a past podcast. I don't remember the episode, but the great, they actually took Jess and the Colorado kid out this weekend up to Bugs. Up to Bugs, and they got caught in a storm. And
that's right. It was snowing up top.
Super funny. So, but they don't tighten their or they keep their shifter and their brake levers a little bit loose. Not loose where it's like rattling around. Yeah. But loose enough to where you can actually like physically move it with your hands. Yeah. And the perspective there, they told me, was so that when they crash, it doesn't break the lever off. It just shifts the lever. So what are your thoughts on that recommendation?
That's an old moto trick. So that, again, when you crash, you don't break something off. We used to do that on downhill bikes. So, again, grain of salt with what I'm saying, but we did that with our downhill bikes. I still do it to this day. Like, I don't have them super loose, but I don't focus so much on making them super tight either. It's pretty good. I don't, knock on wood. There's wood here and I'm knocking. Hear me knocking. I have not broken a brake lever. So, but I definitely had
it's happening.
It's
going to happen like tomorrow.
I definitely had my brake levers like cockeyed, when I get up from the ground.
So do you keep yours a little loose or no?
Yeah, I do. I just don't go to town on them, and so I don't make them loose. So the loose is a bad word. I would say
not tight.
Because they're not loose. They're very solid. Yeah.
They don't move
easily.
They don't move under normal, but you could, if you put enough pressure just with your hand, you could spin them.
I have to hit them with my palm, to move them. So I can't just push them down with my fingers. Right. And that's probably, if I had to give somebody some sort of guidance on how to do this at home, I would say you should not be able to push them down when your hand is on the grip, with your fingers, right? You should not be able to push them down. They shouldn't be that loose. You should have to kind of hammer them with your palm to get them to move.
Of course, we do recommend following the manufacturer's suggested.
The other thing is carbon makes it a little weird because you don't want to be scarring carbon. Yep. So each circumstance are a little different. Downhillers and most of my downhill bikes usually have alloy bars and not carbon ones. But I still do it on my enduro bikes and they're carbon. So
interesting.
But yeah, it's just the amount that you tighten them. You just don't go to this huge, super tight spec, to where they don't budge. Cause then you're breaking bars too. So, but
right on, man.
Yeah, I would say that's, if you're going to do it safely and, make sure that you're not dumb.
Don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb. So, yeah. That's our advice. All right. Next question.
Okay.
I, as you know, for whatever reason, like to experiment. I found the perfect pedal. Mm-hmm. Like I just love these HT. They're nylon pedals. They're somewhere around $50.
Yep. Yeah, we sell them.
They got big platform. Works for my feet. They're super light. They're inexpensive.
Yeah.
Every time, and for whatever reason, I keep buying different pedals to try, and then I try them for one or two rides. I don't like them, and this happened with the Canfield pedals. Yeah. Great pedals. Lacey loves them. The platform's not big enough for my foot. That's basically not much I can do about that.
They got the Q factor really narrow on it.
Yes.
Which causes, even though they have a big platform, it causes you not to have as much foot room.
Correct. So, and I was a little bummed because on the spec sheet, they measure out about the same size platform, but on those, because the Q factor, like you said, the platform, they're actually a little closer to the spindle.
Yeah. So
they're a little closer to the crank. And so I just didn't have enough room for my feet.
Yeah.
Anyways, every single time I get a new set of pedals, I get a bunch of replacement pins with the pedals. And so here's my question. Have you actually ever replaced the pins on a set of pedals?
Yeah. I got two stories. One, it's a ridiculous story. So I am a weight weenie, which I shouldn't be, because if I just
Don't tell me you're taking pins out to reduce weight.
no.
Okay.
But I bought the lightest pedals on the market. Like at the time, they were HTs, coincidentally.
Shout out to HT.
And I don't remember what they are, but they're magnesium. And then in order to make them, they had titanium spindles.
Okay.
And to make them as light as to claim the lightest, the pins were alloy instead of steel. And so they were set screw. They were button head screws that would go through, so the button head would stop, and you'd have the exposed thread on the other side. And so these were just little alloy button heads.
And they probably wore out in like 5 rides or something.
So I have a knee issue. One of the reasons that I do ride e-bike more often is because I have knee issues, and I've had it. I don't know where it came from. I think El Tour, so road riding did it to me. But this knee issue causes my knee, my knee to kind of move in and out as I ride, which causes my foot to turn. So it's like I'm, going pigeon toe. Was it the ski term pizza? Yeah. French fries,
Pizza, French fries.
my feet are doing that while I'm riding. And so when I'm in clipless, it hurts my knees because I can't get enough float.
Right.
So all this I found out because of these pedals, because I would start riding them, and by the end of the ride, I would almost be slipping off of them because that movement was snapping those things off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I'd come back and like all the button heads are still there, but the spikes are gone.
Yeah.
Because that little twisting back and forth with alloy would just pop them right off.
But this is a weird use case.
Yes, that's the weird story.
Okay.
That's the crazy story. So now your poly pedals, it's what we call them. They're poly plastic.
Polyurethane.
Yeah, super durable. Those are the ones that I have the most problems with, not because I rip the spikes out, but because they loosen up. So I have to go through probably every 2 months and tighten them. Yeah.
I've had to tighten them, but I've never actually replaced them.
No, different ones are better than others.
Okay.
And so like I have a set of, I have so many pedals. I have some from 2012 Interbike. Crank Brothers would do these laser etched commemorative pedals for Interbike. They do them in a certain color, and they would have the date and Interbike on them. And I have a couple sets of those. And one of my downhill sets is I think they're the mallets with those pins.
Yeah.
And those are set screws where they have the Allen wrench in the set screw.
Yep.
And so you hit a rock with that, and that interface is gone.
You can't get the Allen wrench in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I shy away from those when I'm buying them. So I usually, if I'm looking at a pedal, I usually have kind of a life in them, and I don't really tend to reach that life where I'm really putting a lot of pins in it. If it gets to where I need to do a lot of pins and I've just really scraped the shit out of them on rocks, I'll just get a new set of pedals. But they're getting pricey now, like they're 100 to 150 for alloy. And I sometimes just want that color. I've actually been buying a lot of the poly pedals. A lot of the pro riders are using them too, because they tend to glance off rocks. So instead of an alloy, which will kind of curl up the aluminum on the rock and then create more of a dam and slow you down more, the polys will just shear off and just kind of shave a little poly off as you hit the rock.
Yeah.
And so the only thing that I'll warn you with the polys is that the pedal bearing quality is lower. So, I mean, they're not cheap pedals because poly is that much cheaper than aluminum. It's because the rest of the pedal's not super high quality either.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's the only drawback. But at $50, you can get 3 pairs of those to a $150 pair of alloys.
Yeah.
So if you are somebody who are hard on pedals and tired of spending money on them, I would say go for it. Get the polys. But if you don't really scrape your pedals a lot and you want your bike to look pimp, the alloys are going to be cooler.
The HT pedals I use are some weird number. It's like PA8 something.
It's AOE something.
I don't know what I think it's
alloy something or other.
I think mine are P, which is the poly ones probably.
Oh yeah, the poly. Yes, yeah.
So anyways, I'll put a link in the show notes.
And I have ME or MA. I can't remember. So the light ones are magnesium. So
right on. Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes.
I want some titanium ones.
Titanium,
because titanium sparks.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think I've seen titanium pedals. I mean, I think that would be excessive and probably super expensive. But
it would be super expensive.
But it would be awesome because they would spark every time you hit a rock. You could start lots of fires that way.
Not a good thing for the desert. Let's not do titanium pedals. Maybe that's why they don't make them, is because they spark.
That could be, yeah.
All right. Next question. So I was riding with my buddy the other day, and we were in the garage, whatever, before the ride, and his chain was like just bone dry. Mm-hmm. And I understand that, like, and this is not, he doesn't use wax, so let's take wax off the table for a second. I understand that
all waxes or just the dipping wax?
All waxes.
Okay.
Take all waxes off the table for a second. I understand that the answer probably really depends on the type of lube that you're using. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, how frequently do you lube this thing? And he's like, I don't know. As soon as it starts making noise, maybe once every 2 months or something, he rides quite a bit.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Like, how often should you lube your chain with non-wax chain? I know it depends on conditions.
Yeah.
Depends on the type of lube, but like.
Yeah. Here's the disclaimer.
Go.
Keep in mind, we're in the desert. We have very little liquid, no rain. None of us are hardly ever riding in any moisture. So this will be skewed towards that. So for all you guys in the PNW or ladies in Boston or wherever where you actually have water, this doesn't
increase the frequency a lot.
Yeah. So wet lubes in general actually do better in those environments because the wet lube doesn't get washed away as easily.
Right.
But in our desert, probably, if I compare it to dry, so like dry is every around 50 miles. Yep. So that could be 2 to 3 rides for somebody.
Yeah.
And then a wet may be twice that. So
100 miles?
Yeah. But what it is it's harder for it to come off, whereas the dry lube actually actively falls off of your chain because as debris sticks onto it, it gets heavier and starts to come off. And so, it's a shedding type concept versus the lubricating, like liquidy, stuff. You have to wait for that to seep out,
Can you over lube a chain?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. You can get crazy. Also, if you mix them, I don't know if people know this, but if you mix a wet and a dry, you'll get the gunkiest, nastiest stuff and it'll build up. There's awesome pictures on the internet of pulleys that are like, you can't even tell they're pulleys because there's so much of this gunk, so they don't mix well. So we always ask customers, what lube do you use? Or for the most part, we can actually feel the chain when we're working on it and kind of have a good idea of what lube they're using. Not exactly, but whether it's wet or dry. And so we can kind of appropriately lube their chains. So
I saw this random text in a group text chat that some of my old buddies have. And it just said randomly with no context, FYI, toothpaste does not make for a good lube. This was not in reference to bicycles.
Well, toothpaste is a polishing compound, just so you know. It is not a lube. Did you know that WD-40 is not a lube?
What is it?
It's a water displacement.
Interesting.
Yeah, so WD-40 is a water displacement. Yeah, and so will it make stuff not squeak as much? Absolutely, because it has some properties of that, but it's actually not a lube. So when WD-40 started making bike lubes, I had a very hard time with that because I knew they were making an actual lube, but naming it WD-40 was very counterintuitive. So, and some people will probably message us saying that they love WD-40 bike lube.
But doesn't WD-40 actually make lubricating products now, like the brand WD-40?
Yeah, that's what I mean. They make bike lube. So they make actual bike lube now. So
yeah, so that's different than their.
It's the same company, but yeah, it was weird because I was always taught, from friends, this is not a lubricant. So, and I actually have Tri-Flow at my house for like all my squeaky doors and stuff like that. I love that Tri-Flow.
Tri-Flow's a wet bicycle lube.
Yeah, and like a lot of old people will remember the 3-in-1 oil or something like that. Or another one that actually bike people use is T9 BioShield.
Yeah.
So that's a really popular one too.
Oh, interesting. I think that's used for guns too.
It's
isn't
all
it?
kinds of stuff. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. So
interesting.
People will stick anything on their bike chain to make it fly.
Okay. Next question. I guess I keep saying next question.
Yeah.
Because I got a bunch of questions here.
That's correct.
A lot of carbon bikes these days, and I have a pet peeve about carbon chainstays because I've had bad luck with carbon chainstays or seat stays, either one really, just a rear triangle in general. And when we had the Carbon Fix guys on, they were like, yeah, those chainstays go a lot. They do a lot of carbon repair on chainstays. So I think bikes should, my personal with no data to support this opinion is that bicycle brands should be making the rear triangle out of aluminum instead of carbon. But as you know, when we were up at the Windsor Trail, is that right? Outside of Santa Fe?
Yep.
We discovered late that Lacey had cracked her chainstay on her pivot.
On her switchblade.
On her pivot switchblade, which we think, well, there's a debate on when this happened. One person thinks it happened during the ride. One person in our family thinks it happened during transport in a shuttle situation. We don't have to get into specifics there.
Yeah.
But there's different opinions.
Yeah.
So here's my question. If you do have carbon damage on your bike, whether it's on a rim or a frame or a handlebar or whatever, like how can you tell, is it safe to ride?
So if it's on a handlebar, it's not safe.
Okay.
So I just crashed hard on my bike.
Yeah, that crash shook you up, man.
Yeah, it did, with my brand new 1-Up bars, and I scarred the top of them. It's not super deep, but I'm not going to ride them. They're going to go on the wall, and I already pulled them off the bike.
So any damage to a handlebar, your advice?
The way that I ride, now I will tell you that, and I am saying this jokingly, but I'm saying this with seriousness. My kids' bars are carbon, and they have marks on them. I got them from my buddy. I think they're superficial. They have like a clear coat issue where the clear coat is kind of flaking and stuff. And I know that they're strong. They're Renthal. They're super strong bars. I know that at their weights and the way they ride, they're going to be fine. The way that I ride, one layer of carbon missing from that bar, especially since I'm riding a bar like a downhill bike, and the bar is probably rated for trail, I'm just not going to take a chance.
Risk. Okay.
Yeah. And so I used to have Envy downhill bars on my downhill bikes, and same thing. I got a crash, and I put a good 2 to 3 layers of carbon gone in this scratch.
Yeah.
And to me, that's, I mean, there may only be, I don't know how many there are, because one of the things about carbon is they compact it. And so it could have 30 layers, you know, but it's still really thin. But 2 to 3 layers is just enough for me to.
You know, we're going to have some carbon experts who are going to write us up and be like, "You guys are fucking wrong."
Well, however whatever they say, they won't be able to argue that if you damage your carbon handlebars, you do not ride those.
There you go.
Because that's the front of the bike. That's
pretty definitive.
Super high.
Even if they're fine, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah. It's just not worth it. It's $160 for a set of bars, and versus dental work and lots of reconstructive surgery if that thing breaks. And I had a buddy who was a weight weenie, and he bought one of these
Chinese aftermarket
stupid light bars off of AliExpress or whatever, and was at the race in the White Mountains, the Tour of the White Mountains, and that bar broke on him and sent him to the ground. And it wasn't worth saving that 20 grams or 30 grams that he saved. It just wasn't.
Right.
So
what about on a frame?
So frames, same philosophy in our shop, where if it's anywhere near the front of the bike, the steer tube or the head tube, we recommend not fixing it. But as you go to the back of the bike and any kind of
not fixing it?
Yeah, not fixing it. Yeah.
Okay, just not riding it, but not fixing it.
Well, so like I would never even fix carbon bars. I just wouldn't do that.
Okay.
On bike frames, though, there's some really good, talented carbon repair facilities all around the country. You know, and these facilities have been fixing carbon for a long time. If some guy is just taking like super glue in his garage, that's not quite what I'm talking about. We're talking about professionals who are actually staking their reputation, have a business. You know, if it's your buddy who used to fix boats doing it, I would be careful. You know, I would. I always kind of weigh that with
not the same structural integrity in a boat that you need in a mountain bike.
Well, and you know, I mean, there is some differences in the materials. You know, the pivot, Bernard Kerr crashing out on that pivot prototype bike, that was a adhesion issue between carbon and aluminum. Yeah. And that was professionals who are building these things that
at the top of the industry
they found something out with that. They found out maybe either they made a mistake or their material wasn't at the same spec that it should have
something
been.
In the curing process. Something went wrong.
So you want a professional doing this, but we have one in town that's great. There's a couple in Phoenix that are great. They're all over the country. Yeah. Get one with a good reputation.
Yeah. You know, go to your LBS and ask them what they recommend.
But we tend to not favor anything near the front, the head tubes, because again, lots of stress, and my philosophy is if something breaks, what happens? So let's say your chainstay or your seat stay break after you've had it repaired.
You skid out.
Most of the time the bike comes to a stop. You know, it doesn't flip you over the bars. It doesn't separate and send you face first. You know, you're basically maybe walking out, you know, and so I kind of look at that. Other things aren't practical. So like bottom bracket areas sometimes get tricky because there's a lot of torque and a lot of different energies going all different directions. And then rims, I've had good and bad luck with getting carbon rims fixed because it's a thin area that holds pressure, so it has to hold basically tension, and it has to be impact resistant, and so that gets weird too. So carbon rims are a little weird fixing them too, because at first when they first came out, we were fixing them. Now I kind of favor the companies that have lifetime warranties.
So if you crash on a trail and it doesn't disable your bike, take the headset out or take something in the front of the bike. Like you did something. I'm trying to get you to give a specific answer, which is what you did with Lacey's chainstay to determine whether she should ride it or not.
Oh,
and we determined at that time that she should not. What was it that you did to kind of check that part?
So one of the really like old school ways is to take a nickel out and just tap the carbon. And if you're tapping the carbon or you're pushing on it and it's got deflection and it's obviously softer in that area, it's definitely cracked.
So softer, and then the nickel or some kind of...
The nickel will change tone.
You can hear the tone change.
As you're tapping, you'll hear a tone change. Those are big indications. Now, on her bike, I feel like she could have ridden out. I just would have told her not to hit the jumps. And
we were at this. We hadn't gone up yet. Remember, it was in the parking lot before we started, and so we're like, let's just take. I think she took.
And also, that's a personal choice. Like, I feel like if something goes wrong on my bike, I can come to a complete stop and safely. Yeah. There's other people that will not have that,
like me.
Yeah. and so like you want to do it within your comfort zone, right? You know? So, but if you're in the middle of a trail and you need to get out, so on the wall behind me, which nobody can see on the podcast, but
all I see is Shimano.
Josh can over here above my computer. There is a chainstay that Justin broke on his bike, and it has a stick duct tape to it to hold it together. So
I do see that.
Out. Yeah.
That's how he got home?
That's how he got home.
You guys had duct tape out there on the trail?
No, he does. He puts duct tape around his pump.
Cool.
So he's always got a little duct tape going. And so his pump will always have this like band of duct tape around it so that he can use it whenever he needs it.
And obviously at work, he needed it at least one time.
Yeah. He had he splinted that sucker and rode it out. So, there's nothing wrong with that. So it's amazing. Zip ties, duct tape, and I don't know. This is an old school trick, but we needed it at the tenor. Having replacing your bottle cage bolts with SPD cleat bolts, so that if you lose one of your SPD cleat bolts,
interesting. And they're the same,
same thread pitch.
Or whatever, same thread pitch. Interesting.
So that was an old school trick. So your bottle cages would have cleat bolts holding them.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Huh. All right, couple more here.
Okay.
And I think we've timed the number of questions appropriately to the amount of time. So we're doing good. All right, I was getting ready for a ride the other day, and had taken my helmet off the rack, and my helmet slid off, and I set it on the top of my car, and the helmet slid off the car and crashed on the ground.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, Jesus. Because I've always been told one crash, and you're done with your helmet.
Yeah.
So does that include when I drop my helmet from about 4 feet in the air onto concrete? And I know you're going to err on the side of caution here.
No, I'm going to give you the full answer. Remember, just like I did before, I'll give you the corporate answer, which is, if that's taken an impact, it's lost some of its impact resistance.
It's not as safe.
And it's not as safe. That's the corporate answer.
Damn it, I need a new helmet.
Yeah. The more practical answer is that, if you don't feel like it took a big bounce and it didn't really take a big hit, you're probably okay. You definitely want to inspect it and look inside, make sure there's no cracks in the foam, whether or not you can see
the foam's compressed or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to see that on the outside.
Yep, I got you.
And then that is just you dropping it, right, which doesn't have your mass in it, and so it's good chance that it's okay. If it's a super light roadie helmet and maybe hits the right way, it could actually do some damage because those things are minimal to keep weight down and high flow of air. And so they're not designed maybe to take an impact a certain way without something inside of them, so you can actually hurt them. And so you want to use a good judgment and not let your your wallet be the deciding factor. You need to let your self-worth and your safety be the deciding factor.
Probably worth just explaining, make sure that our listeners understand that like these helmets are kind of like styrofoam inside.
Yeah.
And they're actually designed to compress, and that's what takes the impact.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you compress that, styrofoam, it now if you crash again, it's not going to be able to compress as much.
Yep.
And so your level of protection of that helmet is decreased.
Yeah. And then the big thing that people don't know about in a lot of cases is that they have a shelf life.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So helmets, styrofoam breaks down, gets brittle, starts to decompose, believe it or not, even though it takes forever, it'll start to get brittle, and it'll start to get less elastic and less cushion and more, crumbly. And so,
obviously less able to provide its protection.
Exactly. And so most manufacturers will, in the literature, tell you roughly its age. It used to be 3 to 4 years. There's some processes they do where they build the plastic into the foam now. And so in mold is what some of them call it. But basically, the plastic is no longer just a taped on cover, which it was for a long time. It's now part of the helmet, and that's made their lifespan a little longer.
Okay.
And then there's also different circumstances. So when you crash on your helmet, the hardest thing is to know if that helmet has compressed and won't be safe, again. And if you were to crash in a similar way, which believe it or not, we tend to crash the same way, we don't tend to crash in a different way every time. We tend to make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And so if you crash again, will it protect you? And so I would say the biggest thing that I see people do that they shouldn't do is don't use your wallet to decide that. Don't
Safety.
be afraid to get a new helmet. Some companies will have crash replacement policies where they'll give you a discount. There's a couple companies that will just replace the helmet, which is awesome.
That's crazy. That tells me that they got a huge margin on those helmets.
Well, it also
they can afford that.
It also says that they want to break that barrier of you not being safe.
Okay, that's cool. There's probably a liability reason that they do that too. It helps them
for the most, and it's also a selling feature. If there's one company,
absolutely.
Man, I'm going to say this, but I'm pretty sure Laser has something like that. We carry Laser. I can't remember, but. You got to check the fine print.
Who makes Laser?
Laser is the oldest helmet manufacturer in the world.
Aren't they owned by Shimano?
Shimano is their. So this is where it's tricky. Shimano North America is their distributor. I'm not sure if they're their owner.
Oh, interesting.
So
something new.
Not 100% sure on that. I could be wrong, but that is a little cloudy because we get them from Shimano North America, but that doesn't always mean that they own them.
Got it.
So, and then the last thing I was going to say about helmets is the sitting in your car. So that breakdown in the foam, when it gets brittle, you definitely want to replace that. So
sitting in your car. So you're saying just the heat of the vehicle.
Yeah,
so like in the garages in Arizona.
Yeah,
where it's 140 degrees in my garage.
Yeah, garage I think is a little safer because you don't have quite that oven effect.
Right.
It still gets hot in there, but if it sits in your car and it gets up to 150, it can really do some damage to styrofoam.
Break it down.
Yeah. Now I'm guilty of that, but I change my helmet probably every year, if not more often.
Okay.
Because I'm trying different product.
And because you're crashing.
Yeah. And I don't actually sell my helmets. That's one thing that I don't do.
Just throw them away.
I don't go to the bike swap and sell my helmets. I tend to get rid of them. So, and I don't know if it's mainly because I think it's grody to have somebody else's head in the helmet. It's just me.
Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense.
I see people buy helmets at the bike swap used all the time, and I'm just like, ew. So, but that's just me. So, but yeah, the heat can hurt them. The heat can actually hurt your carbon bike. When I was in the golf industry, we would have customers come in, and the golf head on their graphite shaft, which is carbon fiber, graphite shafts, would spin. Because they had them in their trunk all day at work.
It would heat up that resin.
Yeah, then they would go to hit the ball and it would spin it. It would turn, and that's how we disassembled the clubs, by the way, was to heat them up.
Interesting.
So you don't, heat's not good for anything. especially e-bike batteries, any batteries, your lights, stuff like that.
I thought cold was worse for batteries than heat. Let's not get into that. That's not part of our question.
That I don't know, but I know that here, regionally, because of where we're at, we're biased and we watch out more for heat. I don't think we ever get to a point where cold is hurting anything.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in Alaska, that's totally different.
Different situation.
Yeah. So. All
right. Final question.
Okay.
You consistent, like I have a bunch of bikes. I love my bikes. I like to take care of my bikes. I like my bikes to look pretty.
Oh God.
And so I clean my bikes.
Okay.
And you constantly give me shit about cleaning my bikes. You're like, and we talked about that in a previous podcast with Justin, and you guys explained the reason why. But, and so I was like, okay, I still want my bike to look pretty, but Dane tells me I shouldn't be cleaning it this much. And so I used, a product called, by G Technique, that was like a ceramic coating. That you could use to like coat your bike.
Okay.
And that was pretty cool.
And you're talking about the paint job for the most part.
Yeah. I mean
you're not putting it on your tires or
not putting on the tires, but like the stanchions, the whole frame, not the stanchions. I'm sorry. The lowers.
Okay.
The lowers.
So if you guys didn't know that, as he said, the stanchions
he
on
made
the fork,
he made a face.
My face turned very weird.
And I realized that I had given them nothing that's actually moving.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And is part of the bike, not the chain, not the, but the visible parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that worked pretty well.
Okay.
And then you introduced me a couple of weeks ago, I don't even know if you remember this, to this product that you use. It's like not necessarily made for bikes, but it's made for multiple different things. Yeah. And it's called SC1 High Gloss Coating.
Yeah. Maxima.
So tell me about that. Like,
so
what is that and what?
So I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff for cars now. Like you said, ceramic, and there's all these different treatments, and I don't know enough about those. They're kind of now starting to permeate into bikes.
But you like this stuff enough that you carry it in the shop.
Yeah, we carry that, and we carry a product called Bike Lust by Pedro's. So Maxima makes the SC1, and then Pedro's. They're two different kind of things. The results are really similar. They tend to give the bike a glossy, kind of nice, shiny finish.
Right. But then it also helps to keep dust and dirt off it.
The big thing, and it's Carlos, our ride wrap guy, who pointed this out on the SC1. It tends to repel dust, and so the bikes don't get as dirty. And so like one of our riding buddies, Nick, I sold him a bike for his son, a Santa Cruz that we had in the shop.
Yep.
And he, Carlos prepped the bike for sale. It was one of our used bikes that we sell in the shop, used. And so Carlos cleaned the bike with SC1 and did a deep clean. He's super, he's the anti-Dane when it comes to bikes. Like
he's pretty anal.
He's cleaning the crap out of his bikes. But, it was super shiny and nice. And then Nick, we went riding a few times, and Nick kept commenting on how this bike never gets dirty. He has to go home and clean his bike and his other son's bike. But this Santa Cruz just did not get dirty. And I think it's a little exaggeration, but I think it's also true that the dirt wouldn't stick to this stuff. And so it's a pretty cool product. I've been using it on my bikes, and I've noticed the same thing. And then we tend to have consignment bikes in the store that we're selling. So we tend to use it on that. And so now I will caution everybody right now. This is an aerosol. So you want to keep it away from your brake pads, and you want to be careful about your brake pads. I tend to spray it on a rag. Away from the bike, and then wipe it on. Be really aware.
I'm super glad we had this conversation because I haven't used it yet. I did buy a bottle from you.
You want to keep it away from your rotors.
Okay.
I tend to take the wheels off and do it. I don't pull the pads out, but I'm really, really careful around the brake pads. Because any of these substances, same for Bike Lust, I don't tend to spray it on the bike. I tend to spray it on a rag and then put it on the bike. That's because, to me, buying new brake pads is super annoying.
Replacing them super annoying.
Yeah, it sucks, and so I'm careful with that. I can clean my bike at home with a rag and this stuff and some water, and not have to replace my brake pads if I do it carefully. But guaranteed, if you spray that bike down with this stuff, you're going to be putting new brake pads on your bike. So
right on. Well, thank you, Dane, for all of the awesome bike shop secret knowledge that you shared with us today. And it appears that our listeners really like these kind of episodes. And I don't think I'll ever run out of stupid home mechanic questions.
None of these are stupid. They're actually really good ones. And I'm glad you come up with them, because it's all in my head. And I tell people this daily, stuff like this. Yeah. But you're right, man. I forget, like the dropper post episode where we told people don't lift up your dropper post when it's down and stuff. The amount of people that came up to us afterwards and we're like,
Jesus Christ, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, what's crazy is the emails I got from industry people going, thank God you said that. So, because they're tired of that issue, you know, and so it was kind of cool, you know. So if anybody else has any tricks or tips and they want to reach out through Instagram or Facebook is, I think, our main ways. Yeah,
you can email us at Mountain Cog. There's you can look in the show notes right now. You'll see us send us a text. You can do that. If you do the send us a text, we learned, please put your contact information in there because it doesn't tell us who you are. So we've had some people write us and we don't know who they are and we can't get back to them. So if we didn't answer your question, sorry, send us an email or hit us on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. It's just Mountain Cog Podcast.
Yeah. There's a lot of them that I learn every day, like every day. So it's really awesome.
Well, we got some exciting, I'm trying to think of what would be published. We got some exciting stuff coming. We actually have some episodes that are under embargo, at least one that's under embargo right now, which is pretty cool. First time for us.
Some exciting new product.
I'm really excited about the new stuff.
Yeah.
So excited to tell you guys about that when we can. And appreciate y'all. You got any final thoughts, man?
That's it, man. Go ride your bike.
Punk rock. Go ride your bike.